This is an introduction to Hatha Yoga, the physical part of yoga which teaches you about your beautiful instrument, your physical body, and also improves your concentration. So we start from the base, from the foundation of the body, your feet. Your feet have two arches, one long arch and one cross arch, metatarsal arch. And they have to both be active to support your body correctly. So lift your feet and stand on your heels and then move to the side, inside. That's what you do when you have weak arches outside, when you have strong arches. But you still have to be in the middle of it. So just the people with weak arches have to shift because they are used to standing too much on the inside. Then you place your whole foot down and start moving the toes up and down, working on your metatarsal arch. If you stand in the middle of the heel, you will be able to separate the big one and lift only the big toe. Put it down, up and down. That activates the muscles which support the metatarsal arch. Now lift all 10 toes and now put down the 8. Now put down all 10 and press the back side of the toe down and lift the whole foot up except the middle of your heel and the back side of your toes. This is a control of your foot. If you do that, you will be able to do the standing postures correctly. You can have the best arches in the world, but if you are not concentrating, you are not going to perform it well. How do you approach that? You put your 2 fingers in front of your face and focus on the back finger, front finger, back finger, front finger, and you see how you see 3 fingers any given time. Then you close your eyes and do the same thing. You start feeling the muscles which control your eyeballs. And you start feeling the movement of your tongue inside of your mouth also. That releases the tension between your jaws. Now put your fingers down and pretend you have one finger between your eyebrow and the other one in the beginning of your neck. Now move between those 2 fingers and then stabilize yourself between the eyebrows so the tongue is very well back inside of your mouth toward your throat. Now open the eyes and you will have a steady standing posture. This also is called Trataka, meditation with open eyes. It loosens your jaw also, because you can't get the tongue in the back unless you have little less tension between your jaws. So put your fingers on your jaws and massage the ligaments between the jaws. Loosen it up and then the tongue can go back and your eyeballs go back. This is very helpful to people who work with computers. They keep bulging the eyes out and grinding their teeth together. So once in a while they should practice on this, then they can perform their task better. Also you can practice on 2 breathing techniques. The first one is Sitali. You loosen the jaws so that you can get your tongue out and breathe in through the mouth. Then you flatten the tongue and close the lips over and exhale through the nose. That's Sitari. It really works very well on your jaw. You have to open the jaw widely to get the tongue out. Then you flatten the tongue and exhale through your nose. The next technique is called Sitakari, when you breathe in through your mouth again with the tongue flat, relaxed. Then again, you close your mouth and exhale through your nose. Very good practice is to practice those two together, because the first one is the tongue very tight. The second is the tongue very relaxed. And that helps you to keep your throat muscles in control and also to loosen your jaw. Sitari, Sitakari. Then as a habit, try to keep your tongue a little bit away from your front teeth, and you will have less tension in your jaws and less tension in your neck and between the shoulder blades. Now I'm going to get up and show you the standing postures. We will start again from the toes. Lift the toes up and down, turn the ankles, the metatarsal bone in front of the ankles. Get your calves together, get your knees apart, and tighten the buttocks so you can open the thighs. The people who have bow legs, they are in a habit of closing the metatarsal bones in front of the ankle and rotating the hip joint. So correction for them is the same. Turn the metatarsal bones in front of the ankle out and close the calves. The knock knees is the correction above, rather in the hips, and the tipping of the pelvis has to help also. The flat feet, the weak arches, are usually standing with the open toes, so they have to start tucking the seat under and gradually getting the toes together. Or they can really open the heels, step on the toes, and then start moving the knees apart. This will also help to people who have bunions. The bunions is a twist on the right very front around the second joint of the big toe. So the people with bunions should benefit by stepping on their toes and pressing it down. The majority of mistakes are always done because the weight is too far back on the heels and there is not enough weight on the toes. The body should stand habitually more forward on the toes and lift the stomach and hide it underneath the rib cage and pull the shoulders down. And try to line the legs as much as you can. And this is called Tadasana, standing. Standing. And you see, the more you learn, the more you will see how much correction Tadasana requires. Now we will try to stand on one leg and that would help to develop the strength in the arch and the alignment of the whole body. At the beginning, if you're weak, you can hold on to the chair and get the standing leg ready. The left, that would be your supporting leg, turns, calf in, thigh out, arch up. The other foot comes up to the hand, presses high up in the crotch against the thigh, and the thigh presses against the foot. The arm goes up, and if you're weak, you keep your hand on the chair. If you get stronger, you pull the stomach up, you pull yourself up, and you can get both hands eventually up. Vrikshasana. The second posture again helps you tremendously with bunions, or helps to strengthen the arch, helps to get the calf in and the knee out by wrapping the leg around, starting from the hip and bending the standing knee, lifting the stomach up, tucking the seat under, and try to get the knee as far to the side as you can. The higher the distance, the bigger the distance, the higher the arch, and the straighter the bunions. That's called Garuda. Again, at the beginning you need the support, then you don't have to. The third position of the hip, this was the hip out for Vrikshasana, this was hip in for Garudasana, is the straight through for Nataraj. You will see it better if I stand sideways. The hip goes forward, forward, so that the leg can go back. And you lift the stomach up. You move the hip forward, you look straight up, and you try to get the heel as high as you can, and this arm as high as you can, and the body stays vertical. Then you turn your hand with the thumb in. That affects the lower back more. You have to tuck it under, and then you can do the same thing. Go high. The third, you open the palm, you get the thumb back, and you go again very high. Nataraj, dance spell. If you're very weak, you can do the same thing sitting down, practicing on the walking. First position, second position, third position. It's very beneficial for your back because you have to use different muscles for moving the arms with the thumb forward, moving the arms with the thumb back and toward each other, and with the thumb back away from each other. You're using different muscles of your back. Then you can do better on rotating the arms, moving them away from you. That helps you also with forward stretches and up. And also teaches you how to get the shoulder down and the elbow back. Shoulder down, elbow back, so that you get it way up here, and then you can get the arms together. So the people who are slouchers and have the shoulder high will profit very much by doing this. When you are trying to touch your hands behind your back, make sure that you are standing straight, stomach pulled up, and also the corresponding soft tissue in your back are also up and covered with the rib cage. And then pull the shoulder down and move the straight arm across without touching your back. Then in this position again, without touching your back, try to bend and straighten the elbow. Then eventually you can place the back of your hand between the shoulder blades. People with painful shoulder joints make the movement very small. You have to learn to move your trunk first, so you will stop hurting the shoulder. Stand up straight. That keeps away from the slouch. The yoga is an applied philosophy. Whatever you learn in the asanas, in the postures, you apply to your living. You improve the way you walk, you improve the way you sit, and the way you stand. Then you will reap the benefits as much as you can. Now I'm going to sit down and explain about the movement of the hip. Sit on the edge of the chair and try to kneel in front of it. Hold the chair, open the chest, and you see how it helps to open the hips. It very much depends on each other, the movement of the shoulders and the movement of the hips. You're kneeling in front of the chair and then you can get up. The same way you go down. You kneel in front of the chair and then you glide back. If you have problem with it, it's easier to do it sideways. Pull the hip down, and as you're lifting, keep turning. And push the hip down, lift the stomach, and glide along. And hip down and stomach up. And in a little while you will be able to do less turning, and then you can do it straight through. Now half of the yoga is with the hips open. So you lift the knee up, and now you open the hip, close the hip, open, but padmasana is open, virasana is closed, or nataraj. So now we're going to work on the closed hip. Flex your ankle and move the chest out, and the hip will be able to move better. If you want the opposite, to work on the cross-legged postures, you again see how the hip presses against the chair. You can visualize it a little better than when you are standing or sitting on the floor. You can exaggerate it and go all the way down and up. Now I'm going to do the other side. Closed hip, nataraj. This is a very good practice for walking. And padmasana, again, lift the stomach, brace yourself against the chair so that you can loosen your hip a little bit. On one side, you will always complain you are less flexible than on the other. That happens because we are right-handed or left-handed people. So we are in sort of a twist all the time, and we have to correct it on one side more than on the other. Now, twists. Pretend you're walking, sitting down. Move the right knee forward, move the left knee forward, Move the right knee and get the right hand over the left knee and open the chest. That's the principle of the twists. If you want to work more on the lower back for eliminating the back pain and the sciatica, pull left knee forward as you twist left. If you prefer to work on the top part of your back, helps slouches and shoulder problems, pull the right knee forward as you twist to the left. Now you go the other way. Left knee, right knee, left knee. Turn. Twist. Now, if you get your feet a little bit forward, open the chest and raise the hips, chest, you get a strong back. Chin down. Then you can put your feet more under, do the same thing, and you're starting to do the back bends. That's the principle of the back bend. So sitting down really explains how the hip moves. All the open postures again. See where you're sitting on that hip? The closed hip, how it moves. Then you can distinguish that walking definitely is not this. Walking is straight through. You can teach yourself to walk by sitting down. So first you exaggerate, then you make the movement smaller by pressing the feet down, pressing the feet. Then you start raising the stomach, and then you can walk better, also sit better. The principle of the Swedish chairs, when you sort of kneel down, is correct idea. Get the feet under, get the knees down, open the hip, lift the stomach, and you will be able to sit longer and function better. Now, if you would apply again the sitting and standing correctly, you will shape your thighs very much. You can feel it, how the muscles here tighten if you get up properly. Usually people do get up bracing themselves against the hands, and when they go down they just crash, and that's how they lose the control over the middle of the body. So please do pay attention the way you sit and the way you get up. Your shoulder joint is very similar to the birds, like wings of the birds. Put your hands on the shoulder and keep moving the shoulder blades up and down. There should be a free movement of the shoulder blade. Then you can have a big movement in your shoulders. Now, if you live like so, with high shoulders, you have a very limited movement in your shoulders. You have to get the shoulder down, 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 and then you can increase the movement of the shoulder, and you also increase the capacity of the lungs. Now, how do you go about this? You can put your hands on the shoulders and then start moving the elbows across, forward, 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 and circle. And circle, and you see again how the shoulder joint depends on what you do with your hips. You have to control the whole body to get a big movement in your shoulders. Now you're rotating the arms again. You're rotating the lower arms in, upper arms out, lower arms in. Now go back to this and do it here. Cross, cross, lower arms in, upper arms out. Finish, finish the arms. That is the part which belongs to Garuda, eagle. Moving the elbows forward, moving the shoulders down. If you lift like this, you have to go backward. You have to get the shoulders down, elbows forward, arms forward. Now you can imitate the whole Garuda. If sitting down, you can get the legs across and then move the whole body. And when you get stronger, you can do it standing up. If you have the left elbow on top, you will have the left leg underneath. And then you move the whole body together. Try to get the shoulder down, the elbow up, and all 10 fingers away from you. You're supposed to, you remember, you're supposed to look like a bird. And they usually fly forward. They don't fly backward. Then you have a correct movement in the shoulder too. Move the hands back, hold the chair, and open the chest. Practicing on the top of your body. Now that will bring us to the breathing. You want to breathe through all sections of your lungs. We are very inefficient in our breathing. You can ask any MD, he will confirm it. So get your hands on the rib cage. Inhale and put the middle finger so that it touches. Now lift the fingers off and start pushing the ribs together, exhaling. Until you cross your fingers. Inhale, lift, and start pushing. That's called Vastrika, bellow breath. That's the intercostal breathing, the mid breathing. Now the diaphragmic breathing. Put your hands on your navel and say ha, ha, ha. Then imitate the movement of the diaphragm, moving the stomach up. Now do it with short interruptions, 10 times as you exhale. Inhale, push the diaphragm down. Exhale, lift. That's a Kapalabhati, polishing of the skull. Yoga, complete breath, is combination of those two. You open the rib cage and push the diaphragm down. Exhale, you lift the diaphragm and you close the ribs. So that the trunk is constantly moving as you breathe in. You also notice that I make a sound in my throat. Swallow. There is a little valve which goes up and down when you swallow. And that's where you try to make the sound in your throat. You're pushing the air through that opening. You're lifting the diaphragm, forcing the air through the epiglottis. That's the exhale. Inhale, the diaphragm goes down. Exhale, the diaphragm goes up. Inhale, the ribcage goes apart. Exhale, the ribcage closes. And you try to think of your back. There are adrenal glands on top of your kidneys, and you want to stimulate those, because when you are ready to fight or run, when you are afraid or you are aggressive, you produce adrenaline in your blood, and then you can fight better or run faster. So when you do the breathing, you try to calm yourself down, to tell the adrenaline not to appear in your blood. Then you cease to be afraid, or you cease to be so aggressive. You'll be more adjusted. And the stimulation of the adrenaline comes from two directions, from the intercostal breathing and from the diaphragmic breathing. Now you can practice on your breathing when you're walking around. Try to take a few steps on the inhale, few steps on the exhale, but become very conscious of your breathing. And it should be a great action around your navel, around your rib cage, and the shoulders are quiet and go down so that the lungs can function. If you lift the shoulders up, and then you have a tendency to rotate the arms forward, you handicap your lungs very much. Besides, you're interfering with your digestion too. There are no empty spaces in your trunk. All your organs have their own places, and if you start slouching in any way, you misplace your organs, and they are not likely to perform to the 100% capacity. Now you move forward from the hips. You place your body on your legs, hold the chair wherever you can, and now raise the hips, and eventually you will be able to straighten yourself out. But do not make a separation here that doesn't stretch the back. That's what people do when they can't go forward. They just round the back, which is incorrect. So here you can learn to lie on the legs and then go inch by inch until you learn to extend the spine enough to finish the whole thing. Now you can also reach backward, step a little bit backward, and try to reach the back of the chair. Then you can do better and better and better. Sit down and get up. Just don't make any separation here. If you're very weak, it's all right to have the arms high up. It also teaches you, when you practice with a chair, that your hips have to go way forward. So you can do the Tadasana, the back stretch. Now I'm going to go down on the floor and show you a few postures sitting down. Get your feet parallel to each other. Lift the 10 toes up and down. Lift the big toe. Put down the 8, put down the 8. And then put down all 10 and start raising the metatarsal arches and the long arch. Now when you get your hips open, you try to open your ankles just as much. Open the feet. And then also close the toes together, separate the big toes, separate the 8 toes. If you can't do that, use your hands to teach the toes. In a little while, the toes will do very well. It's a very good exercise for concentration, and it helps to get better arches. If you stretch your legs forward and then open the hips, you see what happens to your feet. You are very opened and your calves are together. If you bend your knees, the heels go forward, the feet are parallel to each other, and the knees are open. That's what happens when you're crossing the feet in preparation for padmasana. If you do the opposite, you close the hips, the knees go together, that's perfectly all right. Half of the yoga is done in this position. That's virasanas. When you do the back stretches and the twists. But you can't combine them together. You can't have your hips open and the foot close. That's how you injure your knee joint. So be very careful when you are doing the open postures that the feet are rotating in the correct way. It also helps you to get the knees down on the floor. If you do this, the knees go up. If you turn the metatarsal arches, the knees automatically go down, especially if you lift your stomach up. So if you put your feet underneath your knees, you are in Sukhasana, easy pose. If you get your knees a little bit apart and start pressing on the second joint of your big toe and lift the stomach up, you are in a free pose. If you would open the thigh and the calf and place the foot in between, you see the position of the foot, that's Sukhasana. Now, if you let the left go forward and the right knee bended, you have a bigger base, and some of you think you can't get the knee down. It's because you are not sitting in the correct place. So keep rocking. Get on the hip where the knee is bended and then rotate the obliques until you get on the floor. That's one way to do it. The other way is when you lie on that leg and going slowly in the middle until you reach the opposite side. And then you rely on the lift of the stomach, which will keep the knee down. The weak stomach, knee up. The weak shoulder, the weak back. So straighten out and the knee will go down. If you bend both knees and lean forward, you see how your feet are reacting, turning, and then you arrive to a position called beginner's mount. Now in a little while, you can go slowly down, lifting the stomach in the same time until you get enough strength to get down without collapsing and lifting your knees. So don't go far when you cannot control it. You can, if you're very weak, you can keep your hands on the floor and rotate your hips or stop the lift of the second joint of the big toe by pressing down on it with your hands until you do both enough, pushing down the second joint of the big toe and raising the stomach until you can have your knees on the floor. Now, the feet turn out when you have the hips open, the feet turn in when you have the hips closed. That's what we're going to do now. You turn the hip in and you place your foot next to you. You turn your thigh out and away from the calf, and the calf away from the thigh. And then you try to close the other knee in, and again lift the stomach, and then you can start on your forward stretches, lifting the stomach up and moving forward. Or you can twist and lift the obliques, and again go in the twist forward. If you stretch this leg, some of you will have problem to get the hip down enough. So you can lift the hip, turn it, or get your hands back and lift both hips, and now arrange the hips accordingly so you will sit on this hip, and then you can go forward by stretching the back. You have an intention to get the elbow on your toe. So, the knee is down correctly. Don't tolerate this position. The knee has to be next to the knee. Now do the other side. Lift the foot up, put it down, turn the calf and the thigh against each other. Lift the hips, place them correctly on the floor. Help by twisting, and then find the forward stretch. So the elbows go forward until they go down. Don't try to put the elbows down close to you. You have to get away from you. So it's also helpful to place the hands on the shoulders and get the elbow forward. Now finally we have the legs together, and you know where your hip joint is now. You try to close like a pocket knife this part of your anatomy to this first, this, and the elbows go forward, and you're stretching. Don't try to get the head down, because then you round your shoulders and you create a big space here and you can't get very far. So it's the opposite you want to do. You want to raise the trunk and go forward. One day, when you really are touching every part of your trunk to the legs, you can lower your head. Sometimes it helps very much, especially the slouches, to cross the hands. Then you work more your shoulder blades, and you're stretching the top of your spine, and you can get a better result there. That is Padmasana, utmost back stretch. And you're doing this always exhaling, because your diaphragm has to go up and your stomach has to flatten. Sometimes when people are very stiff in the hip, this would help you if you bend your knees, because part of the trouble is that people have very short hamstrings too. So now rotate back and forth on your sitting bone. When you want to lie down, you go on the back of the sitting bone. When you want to go forward, you go on the front of the sitting bone. Now, if people can't do the forward stretches, they make an error. They get on the back of the sitting bone and then just move your arm forward. That's not correct. So exhale and reach as far forward as you can. Now go back, exhale and say ha, and you will see you will get much more forward. Ha, ha, ha. Why is that? Because when you say ha, ha, you lift your diaphragm, you flatten your back, you can't round your back, and that is the reason why you go more forward. And then all you have to do is slowly learn to stretch the hamstrings. That takes some time. So first practice ha, until you learn to stretch the trunk. You can do this is easier. Ha, until you can go forward. Your ambition is to get the elbows on the toe. That is the reason why you exhale when you go forward. If you do poorly on this, maybe this way you will improve. Bend your knees, put your feet parallel, get your arms up, and start raising your stomach up. The more you get the feet closer to you, the more difficult it becomes. So when you're very weak, don't get your feet too close. And then keep bringing it up, 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 until you really can do it. Then the next, grab one of the feet and push forward with the knees, with the foot, forward, 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 forward. That would be easier. Everybody, put your foot on the floor. The mats are too soft to hold your balance. Then you can do it no hands. Then you have enough stomach strength to go forward. Then you put your bottom down and apply what you just did. Try to have as little weight on your seat as possible. And the same thing applied to the other. Move the knee forward. Move this leg forward. Grab it and go forward. The very weak people can keep kicking to get the seat on top of that foot. You don't have to lift that hand. You just try to get the stomach up until one day you don't need it. Then you move forward and up. And that's the principle. Forward, like you did now. Throw yourself forward. You won't be able to lift your seat, but you will get the feeling what you're supposed to be doing. You definitely cannot sit back. You have to go forward right from here. So you can see how it looks for here. How close the seat has to come to your foot. You cannot balance otherwise. And that is the principle of that forward thrust. Now I'm going to show you the backbends. Kneel up and kick your bottom with ankle extended and then ankle flexed. Those are the muscles you need for walking. So get your arms up, kick, 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 flex, flex, flex. Now get your arms back and open the chest. kick, go back, kick, go back. It's just like you're playing catch up between the hands and the heels. Keep those two together. And here is your Ustrasana. Open the chest. Another way, flex your ankles and get your toes as far under as you can, and Ustrasana. Hips, lengthen the stomach, tuck the seat under. Now if you want to go a little further, put your elbows down, lift the hips, and think as fast as I can, I will lift my feet up in the air. Then you don't collapse. This is Supta Virasana. That's very helpful for this part. It's healthy for female. It doesn't kill boys either. It strengthens the spine. So in a little while, you will be able to put the elbow down and open the hands. And then again, the same way you go up, hips, 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 up. Now you go forward and the rest. Posture of utmost devotion. Now, go back into your cat. Cross your knees. Lift the front knee, put it down. You're rocking the backbone back and forth. Lift the front knee, get your hands close, and lift the stomach, place the knee down, sit. You already learned the movement of the arms when we were standing up. I have my left knee on top, so I will have my left arm underneath. Gomukhasana, cow face. You're lifting the stomach up. Now the steer, the version for the boys. Open the feet, close them. Open, lift the front knee, turn your feet, lift the stomach, press the second joint of the big toe down, pull the stomach, steer. Now your ambition is to open your feet enough so that your bones are parallel to each other and the knee is down. Now that's quite a difficult thing. So you start by sitting like this and lifting the stomach, opening the chest, and when you get stronger, you go in the middle. This is the steer. Now the twist. You place the knees one way and the top the other way. And you will see again, the hips will be very obliging if you have your hands on the floor. They can move every which way. But the minute you sit heavily on them, you can't move. So your ambition is to get the trunk up. Use one hand and keep stretching. Use the other hand, stretch. Stretch both, up, up. And then lift the knee, cross it, and move forward. Get the opposite hand across. So the first obligation is to have the right knee on the floor. The second is to get the right armpit and the left knee together. And the third is to try to get the hip down, turning the foot down. So again, the lower part of your back goes right, upper part of your back goes left. That is the principle of the twist. Open the hip, close the hip. Open the hip, close the hip. And then again, you can stretch your hip and you are again in the free pose. Close it, move it, lift it. And now you understand how the hip joint depends on the shoulders, on the lift of the abdomen. So you want to get as much up as you can. Now you go the other way. The legs go left and the trunk goes right. And it's possibly only if you lift the middle enough. Lift the top knee, cross the bottom knee, move forward, lift the hips, place them correctly, push the foot down, step on this foot, get the knee into the armpit, get the hip down, and exhale. Exhale as you move. Put your knee down, open up. Put your knee up. Those are the padmasana, those are the virasana. Now you understand the position of your foot. When you are in the open postures, the feet are open. When you are in closed postures, the foot changes. Now, lie down on your back. Now I will explain you a little bit about the backbends. Raise your arms up and stretch your rib cage. That's how you get your arms down. Now put one arm down and one up and keep stretching the rib cage as far as you can until you can grab one of those ankles. And lift the hips up. Now lots of people will not be able to do it right off. So start on the hip. Raise your top arm, hold the top ankle, flex it. Now you will be able to do it. Keep moving the hip backward, back, and stretching the whole rib cage. Then grab the lower ankle and do the same thing. Keep the top leg on the floor for a support. Now when you get this a little bit done, keep thinking how you're going to stretch the rib cage. You roll over your stomach and do it on your stomach. Then go back on the hip, support your foot again in front, and keep doing it between the stomach position and the hip position. And then roll on your back. Don't let go of that foot. And lift the trunk up. Now, in a little while, you will be able to do the opposite one also. Right from your back. If you still can't, you start on your hip as we did on the other side. That's an easy way to get into it. And move your ankle as far back as you can, thinking that you're stretching the rib cage. And then you get the opposite ankle and move back. Or you always go on the full lungs. You inhaling before you go.
Then you go on your stomach, inhale and pull up. And then again you go on the side and pull back. And then don't let go and lie on your back and raise high. Now lie in the middle. And you'll see your arms will be now a little longer. You know, you have to always expand the rib cage to make arms long. And you also can meet the hands with your feet by lifting the feet up. Now chin down, chin down, chin down, feet down, hips. So you have to open the chest and then your arms will be long enough. So keep practicing. Open the chest, chin down. You can't go against it like so. All the slouchers will have a tendency to do this. Then you can't reach. You have to go down with the chin and up, up. If you still can't reach, you can use a belt to hold your ankles, or go on the elbows and put your chin down and keep raising the trunk, trying to walk closer, and then you will be able to do it. Now you go slowly down. That's the principle of the back bend. You also can try to do the table. We already did it on the chair, so we can repeat it here. Place your feet parallel, and now open the chest, lift the hips, and push the chin down, and hold it. And then you will get a stronger back, and you will be able to do better. It's the same thing what we were trying to do previously. It's the same movement. Now, if you have uneven shoulders, which we all have, you can start on the side. Get hold of the ribs and move it around. Look into the top palm. Move down to the hips. Lift the hips up. Lift the hips up. Stretch the top leg. Pull up. Stretch the bottom leg. Lift the hips and breathe. Now place it down. The next step, lift on the arm. Now if you have weak shoulder, you probably would want to place the hand this way to help you to open the chest. And again, if you have high shoulder, move away toward the hips. Lift the hips and move them away from the shoulder. This would be very difficult. If you have a good shoulder, you can keep your hand this way. It's a little bit more work. Stretch the leg. Now, if you have weak legs, you keep them open apart. If you have strong legs, you can put the leg on top of the leg and keep watching the top palm. That would make your back and the whole body strong. Now, of course, you do it on the other side just as well. And I will show you again. We started on the elbow. Now, some people are very afraid to do this, so it's probably easier for them then to do it with the elbow on the floor. You're closer to the floor, so you are not so much worried. Of course, it takes much more strength because you have to really open the top. If you do it on the hands, you are further away from the floor.
So, but it takes you less strength to do that. Pull the hips up. Again, if you're weak, open the leg. If you're strong, keep the legs together. Now we're going to lie down. You have a strong back now. And you will be able to do all the sitting postures much easier. This posture is called halasana, plow. And you try to do it with a soft belly so that the long muscles in your back can perform. There is a region here where you can move your legs back and forth without tightening the belly. Now when you're going down, 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 the abdomen gets harder. The hardest it is just before you get to the floor. And then you let go and you lie down. You're supposed to have the whole body flat on the floor as much as you can. That would be called death pose, corpse pose, Sukhasana. Now if you lift your legs up again, you have to find the position where your abdomen is long, soft. Now you bend your knees and you get the elbows above your knees while you have your hands on the shoulders. And you move the elbows above the knees. And try to do that here. Try to make a long arm. And then, as you do this, throw the arms more up. Favor your arms. And then you end up in hip stand. Elbow above the knees, and up, and down, and up. Hip stand. If you have problems with this, people generally do. Hold your knees underneath. Open the chest again. Open the chest and favor just one leg. Put it down. The other. Put it down. Open the chest and try both. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. One hand, two hands. Bend your elbows, straighten it. This will give you an additional strength. The slouches will keep rolling backward because they don't have enough strength in the top. So for them, just try to keep your feet low and open the chest, open the chest. And then go inch by inch when you get stronger, or get just one leg up until you can do it. And then you don't need your support. Also, it's very good to practice between letting go and straightening it out. That's the principle of the rocking. You want to go back, you let go, and the legs go all the way. Turn your metatarsal arch. That's enough to get you forward. So you better watch out not to fall on your nose. And back, and front, and back, and front. Now you either go forward or you go upward. Both is very helpful, and you see how the metatarsal arches help you every time to trigger the rocking movement
or the forward stretch, or the hip stand. Hip stand. You see, if you hold on to your feet and do the Metatarsa arch, you have much more control. Now, at the end, try the headstand. Everybody wants to do always headstand. But be careful that you don't injure your neck. So for a long time, you will practice on half headstand when you have your feet on the floor and you're just opening the chest and strengthening your shoulder blade. Now, you probably won't be able to hold this for a long time. Your hands will tend to go together. So hold a book between your hands to prevent you from doing it. And hold it for 50 counts or so and keep stretching the shoulders and see the shoulder blades moving around. That's one half headstand. The other one is you get your hands in this position, close the elbows and get your chin under. And then try to move the lower part of your arm backward, backward, backward. Now you have to lift the stomach very well, otherwise you start choking yourself to death. Get your toes under and keep moving the feet forward and the arms, the lower arms backward. The third one is when you cross your fingers and rely on the webs. Don't do this with the fingers. Keep them extended, but keep strong webs and embrace your head and get your elbows quite close together and come up. Imitate the headstand. And push the shoulders away, away. And try to get the legs closer to you. So you can really see, if you would do that correctly, you couldn't even get the head down. If you really extend the shoulders, your head wouldn't go down. So if you want to keep the head on the floor, you have to be a little bit round-shouldered. But if you have any weight whatsoever on your head instead of on your arms, you are too much round-shouldered. So then your neck suffers. So it's better to get strong before you really put your head down. Also, it's better for you to practice in a corner, so you are not afraid to fall any place. You go to the corner of the room, so you don't fall down. Get your elbows closer, and then pull yourself up. Lift the stomach, bend your knees. Now open the hips. And then finally extend the legs. When you go down, lift the stomach. Cover it with your ribs. Open the shoulders. So you're not standing on that head. You can shake your head. You're standing on your arms. When you want to go down, you do the same thing. You bend the knees. You flex your hip, you extend your feet, and you descend. And when you finish with it, stretch your neck. Stretch your arms, posture of utmost devotion. And breathe. It's very important for you to go upside down because your brain works on the oxygen, on the prana. So as I said at the beginning of the class, you want to apply everything which we learn to your daily living. So you're practicing every time you move. Elbow, for example, elbow can move only in this plane. So whenever you are awake, you never see your elbow. If you do, you are a sloucher. So you brush your teeth with your elbow back, you wash your hair with your elbow back, you type with the elbow back, you're going to the table from the hips, you answer the telephone with the elbow back, you eat with the elbow back, you don't slouch like this. When you rest, you want to put your arms back. You want to improve, you push them away from you. You can put the hands back. You can cross the hands behind you. Then all the time you're improving your posture. Don't cross your hands in front of you. Don't put your hands on the hips. That increases the possibility of hunching, slouching, turning the arms the wrong way. Then you have trouble doing the asanas. All the asanas are turning your arms the other way. Then you have a limber shoulder and you can breathe properly. Every time you sit down, do it correctly from your hips. Every time you take a step, do it correctly from the hips. So when you walk, you lift your stomach up and you make narrow movement. Don't lose efficiency by going sideways. And when you lose efficiency, in the same time, you lose your shape. If you do concentrate on your movements, you not only will improve your physical structure, but you will also improve your concentration. And the concentration leads to meditation, so you will be calmer too, and you will be practicing on the last 4 steps of yoga, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and that leads to samadhi or nirvana. Thank you for your attention.